When China's Purple Mountain Observatory released its classified report on 3I Atlas, scientists around the world froze. What was once thought to be a harmless interstellar fragment had changed course, again, defying every known gravitational law. Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Liang Zhou called it a signal masquerading as a rock, while NASA quietly halted all public updates. Now leaked telemetry from the Chinese Deep Space Network suggests something far darker. 3I Atlas isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. And by December 2025, it may not be alone. The first time the world saw 3I Atlas, it was nothing more than a streak of pale light, faint, distant, and almost forgettable. But within days, it shattered every rule written in celestial mechanics. When the Purple Mountain Observatory in Nanjing logged the initial data in early 2024, astronomers were certain it was a routine detection, the third known interstellar object after Oumuamua and Borisov. Yet what began as an ordinary entry in a sky catalogue soon spiraled into the most confounding discovery of the decade. In Atlas, didn't move like anything natural. Its light curve and the pattern of how it reflected sunlight pulsed with precision like a heartbeat. Instruments measured intervals so exact they bordered on artificial rhythm. The object seemed to blink, not shimmer. Within weeks, anomalies multiplied. Its velocity changed, minutely at first, then enough to trigger red alerts in automated tracking systems. Chinese orbital analysts described its movement as non-ballistic, a term reserved for objects that deviate from gravitational predictability. The stars pull everything. But 3I Atlas resisted. At the Beijing Astrophysics Center, Dr. Xu Lian tried to recreate the data using simulation software. Every time the program failed. The only way the trajectory could make sense, he said, was if the object were actively adjusting its path, as though under propulsion. But that was impossible. No known material could withstand that kind of cosmic drag. No known probe could survive interstellar travel unpowered. The European Space Agency conducted independent verification from La Silla, Chile. The result mirrored China's findings. The object was changing course, not by collision, not by chance, but by control. Publicly, they called it a rotation anomaly. Privately, internal memos revealed a more disturbing suspicion: intentional vectoring. As scientists scrambled for answers, the data began to vanish. Telemetry streams, once available through open databases, were suddenly restricted. The Chinese Space Monitoring Bureau issued a quiet directive: all observations classified under Level 3 national security. When Western astronomers requested access, their inquiries went unanswered. The few who persisted were met with silence, or formal warnings to discontinue research. Something had shifted from scientific to strategic. Meanwhile, global amateur networks noticed the blackout. In online forums, independent skywatchers began comparing images. One sequence, captured over 10 consecutive nights, showed a slight but deliberate zigzag, an impossible correction pattern that no tumbling debris could perform. Speculation turned to fear. Some believed 3I Atlas was a fragment of alien technology, a remnant of a civilization lost between stars. Others thought it was an ancient probe, awakening after eons of dormancy. Then, without explanation, the object's luminosity spiked. Its surface reflected more sunlight than any asteroid of comparable size should. Spectroscopic readings indicated something metallic, but the data conflicted. It was part rock, part unknown composite. As global attention intensified, so did government silence. NASA's public feed removed all references to 3I Atlas. Even the Minor Planet Center archived its entry, labeling it under review. In the quiet corners of academia, whispers grew louder. "It's not drifting," said one leaked internal note from the Chinese Deep Space Tracking Unit. "It's navigating." For weeks, no one knew what to believe. But every night the object kept pulsing, a slow rhythmic beacon in the dark, almost as if it were alive. And beneath the silence, one question echoed between every observatory on Earth. If 3I Atlas was moving with intent, who or what was guiding it? It began with a whisper in the static, a faint burst buried deep within cosmic noise. No one was meant to hear it. No one, except for a small team of radio astronomers working in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region of China. In May 2025, Their instruments detected something unusual. A 3-second pulse captured as 3I Atlas passed beyond the orbit of Mars. At first, it looked like interference, irregular, jagged bursts with no clear pattern. But one of the junior technicians, a linguistic specialist assisting with AI signal calibration, decided to run a pattern check. What emerged defied coincidence. The pulse intervals corresponded to prime numbers, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, repeating with mechanical precision. Nature rarely counts. Intelligence does. The data was quietly packaged, encrypted, and sent to a private research network under the label Aurora 9. Within hours, it leaked onto an encrypted forum popular among astrophysicists and defense contractors. Only 20 people downloaded it before the file disappeared. At first, analysts dismissed it as a prank. But when a cross-correlation test was run using archived telemetry from NASA's Deep Space Listening Array, a chilling discovery emerged. The same pattern had been recorded weeks earlier, hidden in background noise. The origin was confirmed: 3I Atlas. The interstellar object was broadcasting. Every burst carried harmonic intervals, tones spaced with unnatural symmetry. Spectrographic analysis revealed amplitude modulation inconsistent with cosmic radiation. To those who studied the file, it sounded almost deliberate, like a mechanical heartbeat echoing through the void. In Beijing, the National Astronomical Center initiated a full review. They called the file Signal 3A. The report, now heavily redacted, described non-random, sequential harmonic structures potentially indicative of encoded communication. Within days, the investigation was classified under defense intelligence. Outside official channels, curiosity turned into panic. Independent researchers began decoding the pulse intervals, converting the signals into waveforms. One pattern stood out: a decreasing time interval between bursts. The object wasn't just repeating. It was accelerating its own transmission rhythm. The pulses were getting closer, tighter, almost urgent. Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Liang Zhou analyzed the leaked file in secret. His conclusion stunned colleagues. The transmission was temporal, not spatial, a sequence marking progression, not position. In simple terms, it was counting down. But counting down to what, no one could say. Then the second leak arrived. A blurred photograph of a classified Chinese document titled Event Threshold 0. The memo outlined the same data sequence and warned that the rate of pulse compression would align with the object's closest approach to Earth's orbital plane. Within months, the document spread through underground science networks before vanishing. Servers that hosted it were wiped clean. One by one, accounts associated with the leak went offline. Meanwhile, the pulse continued. Observatories across the world reported receiving faint echoes embedded in radio silence. The bursts now carried faint secondary modulations, almost like overlapping voices. But every attempt to decode them led to computational instability. Software crashed. Systems froze. Some called it coincidence. Others said it was deliberate interference. But the timing was too precise, the decay too deliberate. Each sequence ended with an identical pattern: 2 long bursts followed by 5 short ones, to 5:25, the projected date of its next signal window. And so, while governments scrambled to suppress the truth, a silent clock began ticking in the background of the universe. The signal wasn't noise. It was a countdown. It began as a routine night at the Xinglong Observatory. Clear skies, stable air, and a perfect opportunity to track 3I Atlas as it entered its new orbital path. The data feed was steady for exactly 12 minutes. Then every system on site went dark. Screens froze mid-frame. Power dipped, then returned, but the target had vanished from every instrument at once. Technicians believed it was a hardware glitch, perhaps a localized failure. But as reports poured in from Chile, Hawaii, and Spain, the same pattern emerged: synchronized system failures, all occurring within seconds of one another. Every observatory pointed at 3I Atlas went offline. The International Astronomical Union quietly convened an emergency meeting. Publicly, they blamed solar interference. Internally, leaked transcripts told another story. The failure signatures weren't electromagnetic. They were digital. Each observatory's central server had been breached moments before shutdown, as though something had hacked their systems. At the Shanghai supercomputing facility, cybersecurity analysts traced the anomalies. What they found was more disturbing than any hardware malfunction. A stream of unrecognized binary packets had been transmitted directly into each observatory's data pipeline, piggybacking through the same channels used to receive visual telemetry. The source of the intrusion, the same coordinates as 3I Atlas. The idea was unthinkable. The object wasn't just broadcasting, it was interacting. Its transmission frequency aligned perfectly with the observatory's receiver bands, almost as if it had learned the system architecture in real time. The packet data contained no known code language, but the pattern resembled recursive encryption, a digital mirror that rewrote itself faster than any computer could interpret. When NASA's Deep Space Network attempted to replicate the observation, the results were identical. Antenna 14 in Goldstone locked onto the object for less than 30 seconds before its guidance array failed. The control team reported an unexplained surge across all feedback loops, as if the antenna had received more than data. It had received a command. Meanwhile, satellite observatories suffered subtler malfunctions. Cameras drifted out of focus. Sensors recalibrated without input. Operators described phantom processes activating within control systems that had no active commands. It was as if 3I Atlas had reached through the void and touched the instruments themselves. When the European Space Agency's Solar Orbiter attempted a remote observation, something extraordinary occurred. The probe's onboard magnetometer detected a localized field variation, not from the sun but from deep space. The readings suggested that the object emitted a magnetic field, oscillating in deliberate rhythm, matching the same pulse pattern from the earlier transmission. Within hours, all attempts to observe the object were suspended under new international directives. The order cited instrumental instability, but internal. Memos referred to potential contamination. Risk. No telescope on Earth or in orbit was permitted to target. 3I Atlas without clearance. Yet not everyone obeyed. Amateur astronomers using home equipment continued their observations. Some claimed to capture new images, but what appeared on their sensors defied explanation. Frames filled with erratic static, spirals of white interference, and brief geometric shadows that seemed to move within the distortion. The few who uploaded their footage reported strange technical failures shortly after, corrupted files, system crashes, and in one case, complete hardware burnout. Their posts vanished within hours. By early June, the message was clear. The universe itself had grown silent. Every telescope that sought to look into the dark went dark. But if 3I Atlas could see them back, what else might it be capable of doing next? The night sky was calm, until it wasn't. At exactly 02:17 UTC, a silent tremor rippled through every major observatory's data feed. 3I Atlas, once drifting harmlessly across the void, had changed its trajectory. For weeks, scientists believed the interstellar object was slowing, the natural deceleration of an exhausted rock. But the new data revealed something no comet or asteroid had ever done before. It was accelerating. At first, the speed increase was small, almost unnoticeable, but within hours it became exponential. The object's velocity doubled, then tripled. The algorithms at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory flagged the data as anomalous. The Chinese National Space Administration classified the same readings as level red. Nothing known to science could explain it. There was no visible exhaust, no solar radiation pressure strong enough to account for the burst. It wasn't following a gravity-assisted slingshot, it was self-propelling. In Beijing, Dr. Liang Zhou, one of the leading astrophysicists behind the Chang'e observation program, reportedly told his team, "It's moving like it knows where it's going." His statement was quickly removed from all official transcripts. Across the Pacific, the European Southern Observatory confirmed the trajectory adjustment using deep sky interferometry. 3I Atlas had altered its vector by 14 degrees, a maneuver so precise it suggested intelligent control. The global scientific community went silent. NASA scheduled an emergency meeting under Project Sentinel, a little-known monitoring initiative designed to track non-natural interstellar entries. The minutes of that meeting were never released. Meanwhile, Amateur astronomers began reporting strange luminescent pulses near the object, flashes in the ultraviolet band that came in repeating sequences. Some believed it was a signal. Others thought it was a side effect of propulsion. By the third day, the acceleration had reached an unprecedented 93 kilometers per second. To put that in perspective, it was moving 20 times faster than Voyager 1, the fastest human-made object in history. Theories began to spiral. Plasma-tail interactions, dark matter thrust, quantum tunneling, none fit the math. What was once dismissed as a rogue rock was now moving with deliberate intent. In a leaked transmission from the Chinese Deep Space Tracking Network, a coded phrase appeared: vector realignment verified and heading SALT system. When translated, it confirmed the unthinkable. 3I Atlas was no longer a wanderer from another star. It had turned and was coming straight toward us. Every government that had previously dismissed the object suddenly scrambled into coordination. Satellites were repositioned. Radio frequencies were restricted. Even the United Nations received a classified memo marked Level Omega, a tier reserved for existential cosmic events. But the object's growing brightness wasn't just a visual anomaly. Astronomers began detecting gravitational fluctuations inconsistent with its mass. It wasn't only approaching. It was distorting space around it. What was once seen as an astronomical curiosity had now become a threat, one moving faster every hour. And then, without warning, ground-based telescopes began to lose visual lock. The data feeds froze, tracking systems crashed, every radar signature vanished. For nearly 3 minutes, the skies above Earth went dark on every monitoring network. When they came back online, the readings showed something no simulation had predicted. Atlas had changed course again, this time directly toward Earth. It began with silence, and the kind that doesn't feel empty, but alive. On the night of the acceleration event, astronomers across the world prepared for what they thought would be another observation cycle. They didn't expect the sky itself to change. At 22:41 GMT, the radio telescopes of the Deep Space Array in Australia picked up a rhythmic pulse. Not a transmission, but something stranger. A pattern. The signal repeated every 13 seconds. It wasn't natural cosmic noise. It had structure. 3 bursts, a pause, then 2 longer intervals. The same sequence that had been seen in the ultraviolet flashes weeks earlier near 3I Atlas. This time, however, it was louder, closer. China's Sky Eye Observatory confirmed the pattern from their side of the hemisphere. The United States, Russia, and India detected it almost simultaneously. For a brief window, the world's most powerful telescopes were listening to the same sound, and then it stopped, not faded, not lost to interference. It ended abruptly, like something had cut the line. In the next moments, atmospheric sensors across the Pacific registered subtle electromagnetic distortions, waves rolling through the upper atmosphere, invisible to the naked eye but powerful enough to disrupt GPS satellites. The U.S. Air Force logged the anomaly as localized ionospheric compression. China called it a nighttime vacuum effect. No one had a better explanation. Above the clouds, pilots reported a thin, ghostly shimmer sweeping across the horizon. Some thought it was Aurora Borealis. Others knew it was too far south, too synchronized. The shimmer moved like a sheet of glass bending in slow motion. At ground level, the power grids of several Asian and European cities flickered. For 3.4 seconds, global electromagnetic readings spiked off the charts, the same pattern seen during high-energy solar storms. Yet the sun was calm. NASA's solar observatories confirmed no flares, no coronal mass ejections. Whatever caused it wasn't from the sun. Hours later, a secure alert was sent to all partner agencies under Project Sentinel. The content of that message has never been made public, but insiders later revealed a single line buried in the encryption header: primary contact imminent. Prepare for blackout. Then came the strangest detail. Amateur sky watchers in South America and Northern Africa uploaded videos showing brief flashes in the night sky, synchronized points of light forming geometric alignments. Pentagon analysts reviewed the footage. The formations matched no known satellite constellations, nor any natural atmospheric phenomenon. As dawn approached, something else shifted. Radio frequencies in the 1420 MHz hydrogen band, the universal frequency for interstellar communication, went dead silent. Every telescope tuned to that band reported the same thing: zero background radiation. The universe itself had gone quiet. For astronomers, it was impossible. Space is never silent. Cosmic radiation, pulsars, quasars, something always fills the void. But now it was as if the background hum of creation had been switched off. At 0409 UTC, an urgent report from the European Space Operations Centre marked the event as systemic cosmic silence. For the first time in human history, the universe stopped talking, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It felt calculated, and just before the data feeds could stabilize, one final reading appeared on the Deep Space Network, a faint energy surge originating beyond lunar orbit. Then, static. The signal stopped, but the sky didn't.